Welcome back to Wash Talk, everyone, the Car Wash Podcast. I'm your host, Rich DiPaolo. Joining me today is Kyle Doyle, VP of Car Wash at Rinsed. Kyle, so great to speak with you again.
Thank you, Rich. Great to be here.
Yeah, so we wrote an article about your company, formerly known as Ignite Wash, for our June 2024 cover story. I appreciate you taking some time with us a few months back to write that article. Wanted to catch up with you here today to discuss some of the changes now that are taking place with your company after this exciting acquisition with Rinse, and we'll talk about that. But first, Kyle, just right off the bat, and this news of the Rinse acquisition of the company formerly known as Ignite Wash happened in early May, right? So
that's correct.
Just right before the car wash show, and just right as we were wrapping up that article that we wrote about Ignite Wash. So how does your role at the company now change, and how does the company formerly known as Ignite Wash moving forward under the Rinsed umbrella?
Yeah, we're super excited to be part of the Rinse family. I think it was a relationship that kind of was unexpected. I've known Austin for a little bit. I was a consumer of Rinsed. I was VP of Marketing and Customer Experience at Summit Wash Holdings, a private equity-backed group. And we use Rinsed successfully for a few different things. So kind of knew him from that. When I left there, I started developing this software. It's kind of a long story, but I was thinking about operating a wash again, was thinking through sales and how I would approach sales. Obviously, I had some background on that, but started talking to a lot of different operators about how they approach sales and realized there was a lot of really common themes in what everyone was trying to do. There was a lot of just trying to cobble together solutions to know what the numbers were for their sales teams, to report on them in a timely way. How do you present? How do you train? All these different things. And I really saw an opportunity for technology to kind of play a role there. And so, that's when I started to talk to, at some point I started to talk to Austin, just kind of kept him up to speed as to what I was doing. We started talking. He and the team were really impressed, but what me and my partner, Craig Vella, had created very quickly. Craig was a friend and full stack software developer, and he had done a phenomenal job in building that product like really, really quickly. And we were getting really good traction in the industry. Then we went to dinner with the Rinse team, with the senior leadership team, and we just had a great conversation. It was, what's the future of car washing? How do we solve problems? How do we listen? How do we help them solve problems with technology and with best practices and things like that? So it was a great fit. Like I said, it happened really quickly. But culturally and just personality-wise and what they were all about, it really kind of meshed with us. And then having access to all of the resources at Rinsed, all of the great team that they've assembled, was super attractive to us, because now we can kind of really pour some gasoline on Salespath as a product, get it out into the market, learn even more from their clients and what the data was showing us on sales. And so it's been a phenomenal relationship. And yeah, we're excited to really hit launch here.
Yeah, I've gotten to know that team at Rinsed a little bit over the last few years. They are a great group there. We mentioned, or I mentioned, the Car Wash Show 2024, Kyle, just a few weeks back in Nashville. And we're there, obviously, to see our customers, but we understand that our customers are there to see their customers, right? So we don't want to be interfere with that process, but walked by the Ignite Wash booth a few times, Kyle, and I got to tell you, I probably walked by about 5 times, and you were always busy, so I didn't want to interrupt you. I certainly did want to introduce myself, but I didn't want to interrupt you. I noticed that Rinse booth was also packed. So your booth was packed and Rinse booth was packed. Two great companies here coming together. Why was Rinse the perfect choice for your company for this acquisition here?
Well, yeah, thanks, Rich. Yeah, I have to say, I've been going to the ICA show since I was 16 years old, and that was the busiest I've ever been. And so it was great. And I think, what it comes down to is the value proposition of Salespath is there's so much investment operators make into the building and the architecture and the signage and the marketing and the equipment and the foam show and the light show and, the detail area, all of these things. But how much investment has really been paid to that moment of sale between the customer and the sales associate? The vast majority of operators are manning these pay stations now. They're realizing the vast difference between conversion rate when they're unattended versus when they're attended. However, the moment you walk away, you don't know what's happening out there. Is the sales associate giving the presentation? Are they being helpful to the customer? Do they need help with their skills? The biggest thing we realize is that salespeople need to present to every car. That's really the simple way of putting it, but that's really challenging to do. And so when we started to talk with Rinse, they really saw the power of shining a light on this moment. Because if we can optimize that moment happens tens of thousands of times a year per car wash. And so, the increase in conversion rate, when you can move that needle, that's worth hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in revenue. And so having the Rinse team kind of buy in on this, and we were really impressed. They went down to a couple of our larger clients. They talked to salespeople on the front lines. They talked to managers on the front lines. And what they saw was that salespeople were really buying into Salespath, our product. The gamification that's part of it, the transparency and the data, giving salespeople live data throughout the day, leaderboards, things like that. And so now having that ability to make that moment transparent and to now really know, how many cars did we present to today? Are we missing cars? We think about it as a funnel, and at the bottom of that funnel comes conversion rate. Well, at the top of that funnel is coverage. Do I have salespeople out there to start with? And specifically, how many cars do I have coverage for? Because, somebody calls in sick or a lunch break or something like that. Next level is engagement. Okay, I have people out there, but are my sales associates engaging with the customer? Are they actually presenting to each customer, or are they just saying, what do you want? What can I get for you today? Then, okay, they're engaging, but what are their skills? Do I need to be doing more training? Is it a problem? Do I have some charismatic salespeople that just get it, but other ones that are slipping through the cracks and missing a lot of opportunities? We have the offer. So, is the velocity of that membership sale relative to the offer we're making? What should that promotion be? And then finally, do we have the data in real time? Do we have to compile POS reports, or are we printing and sorting through all of this just to cobble it together? Or can we log into one place and see it instantly in real time? So I think that's what really, really Rinse saw as an opportunity, because now we can help sign the customer up in the driveway. And then through CRM tools, we can reduce churn by helping people stay longer, increasing lifetime value, messaging different audiences of customers, getting more buy-in in the beginning so that they create the behaviors that we need for membership. So just this full cycle loop now of sales operations and revenue generation. And I think it all starts for us on the Salespath side with just making that moment of sale transparent to the operator. And that a big piece of that is also being able to listen to the audio. Every presentation that sales associate launches, there's a recording of the audio for that. So now we have this great dial-in data. We can now say, okay, this site, the conversion rate's a little low. Why? Let's see who's on. Okay, let's listen to some of the presentations. Okay, yeah, they're not giving the presentation the way we designed it. Let's give them some training. Even on the high performers, it's like, hey, what is it about them that's high performing? Let's listen to some and then learn from that and teach our other sales associates, hey, this is what seems to be working for Joe or for Mary or for whoever it is. So it really helps us to figure out what levers we can move to actually increase conversion rate and subsequently member count.
Yeah, and I know just working with Rinse, they also do a lot of market research. They do their quarterly reports. So between the two companies, definitely staying, or now one company under Rinse, definitely staying on top of these membership trends. But when we look at your offering, Salespath, Kyle, how will Rinse bring it to the next level? What is that next level? What's ahead for the Salespath offering? Are you expecting any new features or changes to the business in the near future?
Yeah, no, we're very excited. So we have the marketing team, right? That's helping us get on calls like this and have good conversations with you, Rich. We have the engineering team where we have more access to development talent where we can be building more features and do that quickly. The implementation team, which is unbelievable to get clients onboarded faster and get them using the product as quickly as we possibly can. Typically, it's about 3 to 4 weeks. We have the data team, which I'm really excited to be working with on just digging into the salesperson data. We have currently about 1,000 salespeople, 1,000 car wash salespeople using the product. That's a lot of data to learn from. We don't claim to have all the answers or to know that, this is the black and white way to do it, but we certainly want to be the best in the business at learning about sales interactions, what works, what doesn't, what offers work, and Rinse data has been, really, really good with that. How can we train quicker? How can we bring salespeople up to speed quicker on new hires? We're finding that's a big benefit of the platform. So really just all of those resources that Rinsed has built, and we were kind of blown away by the culture of Rinsed. It's just a great group of people, about smart people, driven people. So just to be able to kind of have access to that type of, already built talent is really, really exciting. And so, yeah, to answer your question about new features, absolutely. We're continuing to grow the roadmap. We're working on some functionality now to enable contests that's coming so that you can do team contests, individual contests. The gamification is a big part of why Salespath works. We give salespeople points and we give them badges and ranks and there's rewards and all this stuff. But the bottom line is salespeople really respond to that level of engagement. So we're continuing to build up more functionality there, in addition to more tie-ins with the Rinse CRM.
Kyle, you wouldn't know this, but I minored in psychology in college. So I find, that part of the article that I wrote very interesting, that psychological effect of gamification. So I want to hit that topic while we're here. Why is gamification so effective in driving results and especially in something like selling car wash membership? How is that a match?
Yeah, absolutely. We kind of stumbled on this. At first, it was a presentation tool, a visual presentation tool. So instead of the laminated rack card, it's going to be a visual tool. Okay, so we saw a lift in conversion rate there. But we had intended to make a dashboard for the salesperson so that they can see, hey, for today, how many cars have I seen? What was my conversion rate? What were sales associates at other locations doing? But the minute we put that out there, we saw an instant lift in conversion rate. And it's because what gamification is feedback loops. If you're playing a game, you instantly, how many lives do I have left? Am I winning? What's the score? Gamification is feedback loops. And so what we're doing through the dashboard is we're giving these sales teams feedback loops. So here's where you are. Here's your conversion rate. Here's what's good for us today as a company. Here's where you rank in that. Here's what your buddy, Pete or Jane is doing today. And so it's these feedback loops. And just as human beings, we like feedback. It helps us in our job. I mean, who of us doesn't like to get positive and good feedback that helps us to do better? Sales associates are trying to make more commission. How do we help them and enable them to make more money? It's about helping them, make more commission. Gamification keeps that in front of them. I think there's this other kind of behavioral psychological element of loss aversion, where the loss of something is more powerful than the gain of something. And so nobody wants to be on the bottom. And so even if they're not the most charismatic salesperson in the world, we just encourage them, hey, if you present to every car, you're going to do fine. That's the name of the game. And so everybody knows that they can't kind of take cars off. They can't float away, that their performance is now transparent. I think on the reward side, there's an interesting intrinsic motivator in giving people rewards that are not commission. So commission's important. We advocate being generous, but a reward through our marketplace that they can earn through points, it's just this little pat on the back. It's them saying, okay, I'm going to set a goal to get this reward, because they have to choose, and then they keep track of their progress right there in their dashboard. When they get it, congratulations, confetti falls. Again, it's this intrinsic motivation that happens. And we just encourage everyone, this is not about hitting anyone over the head with a hammer. We're Big Brother, we're listening to audio, we're doing this. It really is a coach up or coach out scenario. So If they're struggling, that's fine. It's probably a training thing. It's probably just helping them understand the importance of giving the presentation to every car. Don't get disheartened. A lot of people are just overwhelmed by the rejection. So it's like, all right, I'm failing today, so I'm going to give up. The high performers just keep going. They don't care how many they sold. They're just going to do the same thing. It's a numbers game. And so I think some of these psychological elements, just giving them feedback loops in a dashboard that's in front of them all day, it's just a powerful motivator to feel like also you have some agency in your job. We all like that too, to feel like there's something I'm in control of. That's why we don't advocate a word for word script, but more of a framework. Let them feel like they're in control of their day, and then give them the feedback loops that maintain that engagement.
Yeah, and as you mentioned in the article and also on this interview, it's beyond just bragging rights, right? If a car wash can tie rewards to it, who doesn't like to earn a little bit more or work towards something? But Kyle, as you mentioned, knowledge is power when you're trying to sell memberships at a car wash. Nowadays, it's a bit of a science and less than an art, because you have so much research at your disposal. So in your experience researching attendant and end customer behavior during the membership sales process, are there any interesting findings, or what are the most effective tactics that you've seen? It's such a critical point of interaction, especially as membership becomes so important.
Yeah. I think it's a couple things. I've listened to a whole bunch of audio. I've looked at a whole lot of data, and there's a lot of different personalities. And so what I've found is the ones you listen to, and you're going to think, oh boy, that they're charismatic. They're very warm. They sound friendly. I bet you they have a high conversion rate. And you go look, and it's not that high. And on the flip side of that, you hear somebody who's like, I don't know about this one. I bet you their conversion rate's pretty low, and it's actually high. I think the biggest takeaway is the high performers have all different kinds of personalities, but they present the membership offer to every single customer. That's the name of the game. Regardless of their shape, their size, their background. It's do they present to every car? Because it truly is a numbers game. We talk about Michael Jordan missed a lot of shots, Babe Ruth struck out a lot of times, that type of thing. It's a numbers game. I like baseball because the averages are pretty similar. A 300 hitter is fantastic, right? But he's getting out 70% of the time. A lot of customers are going to tell you no. A good conversion rate, let's call it 15%. That means 85% of the people are telling you no. It takes a certain person to get used to the fact that I have to just ignore all the noise and just repeat that to every car. Now, that's challenging. I think that's one of the things that our data kind of makes transparent is, are they presenting to every car? And now we know that. That's the big, transparency that's key. I would say the other one is to start off consultative. So not to go right to the membership pitch. It's kind of counterintuitive. All right, we want to sell a lot of memberships. We got to sell them on the membership as soon as we see them. Hey, you know about our membership? It's the best thing since sliced bread. And if you just use it twice a year, or twice a month, it pays for itself. I think the issue with that is, again, psychology. We don't like to be sold, but we do like to buy. The customer, number one, has chosen to wash their car that day. Number two, they've chosen to do it at your location. So we're dealing with somebody who wants to buy. Now the thing is, we have to highlight in this early part of the session that we're a good person to help them. So, hey, what were you thinking about today? What's important to you? You want any wax, tire shine? Kind of go through the menu in a consultative way. Now, once they choose their wash, now we can kind of dig in a little deeper and get into, hey, that's great, good choice, make them feel good. Like, who of us doesn't like to go to a restaurant? We make an order and the waitress says, oh, great choice, that's my favorite. And we're like, oh, all right, I did good. The car wash customer wants to feel the same way. They're overwhelmed by our menus. They're confused by our menus. We have a lot of stereotypes regarding our menus. And so they want to feel good. Once we get them to that point, and this can be rich, this can be 10 seconds, this can be 15 seconds. Once we get there, now we just make a simple membership offer. Hey, I got a great deal. If you sign up today, instead of just getting one for that price, I can get you a whole month for that price, or whatever the promo is. But I think those are the two things. Number one, just present to every single car and don't worry about the no's. And number two, be consultative, be helpful up front, and just make the offer, at some point there. But I really think If we can do that, we really see some really high performing numbers.
Sounds good. Very interesting. Well, as we learned in the article that I wrote, Kyle, you're born into this business, CompuWash, I believe the company's name was. You became the CEO of that company in '04. Later sold that company to Sonny's in 2010, I believe, if I got my years right. So you've always been someone who's kind of looked ahead in this industry. In your view, what are the big trends that are going to shape this market over the next decade, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I don't claim to have a crystal ball. I don't even like predicting too far out. I think it's kind of sometimes, it can become an ego thing of like, I think this is where we're headed. But there are clearly some things happening with private equity, with investment in the industry. That's certainly propelled us a long way. I think the talent that we're attracting to the industry is really important. We see a lot of high performing individuals from other industries that are coming into car wash. So I think it's going to be interesting to see that. I think about our churn rate and the fact that because it's so high, we still have some ways to go in finding a perfect product market fit. What else can we do? I think we're still at the beginning of this concept of membership. But I also think about not what's going to change, but what's going to stay the same. And this is not from me. I've read this of okay, we think about the future in technology, but what are the things that won't change? To me, sales is not going to change. It's important when we know that a lifetime value on a member is somewhere between $200 and $400. We're not selling a $10 car wash. There's a lot of revenue by selling memberships, and so sales is going to continue to be really important to optimize that. I think the other one is just customer experience, is really understanding the customer journey as they interact with your brand. And each point of that journey, how are we optimizing? How are we making them smile? How are we realizing we're in the hospitality business? I continue to see this movement from the tunnel to the detail area where the consumer becomes a more active participant as opposed to a passive participant. I studied a lot about customer experience when I was VP of Marketing Customer Experience. And I think when we have customers that are engaged, are active participants, their enjoyment level, the satisfaction level of the experience becomes a lot higher. So I continue to see this move into experience in the detail area. But I think some of those things that's not going to change. It's sales and customer experience are still going to be the way you win.
Clean, dry, and shiny moving forward. It sounds like, right?
Yeah.
That's not going to change. All right. So what's the process of signing up with Salespath, now operated by Rinsed? Where can our listeners find out more information?
Yeah, you can learn more and get in touch with someone at rinsed.com.
All right, sounds good. Well, for those listeners who might have missed the story on Ignite Wash in June 2024, certainly you can go to carwash.com and view that article in our archives. Kyle, I didn't get a chance to speak with you in Nashville, but I'm glad that we finally connected today and caught up and followed up on this article, and all the best moving forward here with Rinsed. All right.
Thank you, Rich. Pleasure speaking with you.